This is part 3 of a series on gradient boosting method. In this video, we will implement GBM and SGB regression in code. This video was produced in Korean and translated into English. And the voice was produced with AI. Text-to-speech. In the previous video, we analyzed the GBM regression algorithm expressed in a standardized format. In this video, we'll try to implement this algorithm in code. We implement GBM and SGB regression in our code following the algorithm. Also implement it using scikit-learn's GBM library. And we will compare the two results. Let's implement the GBM regression. Using scikit-learn's decision tree regressor as a base learner. First, we generate the following training data. These data points are sine function values mixed with Gaussian noise. This data consists of one-dimensional feature x and the target y. We generated 500 data points like this. Our goal is to train a GBM model on this data to predict a sinusoid like this. The depth of each tree is set to 3. And the number of iterations, that is, the number of trees, is set to 50. And the learning rate is set to 0.05. We define the function to visualize the prediction results and check the results visually. The training data, test data, and the predicted values will be visualized. The blue dots are the target y values of the training data. And the red curve is the predicted result of the test data. The predicted result is expected to be a sinusoidal curve like this. Now let's implement this algorithm analyzed in the previous video in code. The data is x and y generated from the previous page. And we use the mean squared error as the loss function. Step 1 calculates the initial prediction of the target y, f0. The gamma, the result of this formula, refers to the overall average of the target y. So the code below sets the initial prediction f0 to the mean of target y. Now we repeat 50 times to create 50 tree models, which are the base learners. Step A calculates the residuals for all data points. The residual is calculated as the difference between the actual y and the predicted y in the previous step. And in step B, create a tree and fit this tree to the residuals. Here we use decision tree regressor to create a tree model. Set the tree's depth to 3 to make it slightly shallower. And we fit this model to the training data x and the residuals calculated above. In step C, we calculate the gamma, which is the leaf value. When we input the training data into this model, the output is the gamma, which is the leaf value. Step D updates the predicted y values with new ones. We update the prediction FM from the previous round with the new prediction. Using the learning rate and the gamma. And save this model in the models list. Calculate the loss function, mean squared error, using the actual and predicted y values. This is for reference only and to monitor how well the training is progressing. Step 3 is the prediction process. In this way we predict the target y value of the test data. We generate 50 test data points sequentially, ranging from 0 to 1. The test data, x-test, is like this. The initial prediction of this test data is set to f0, which is the initial prediction of the training data. Read the models stored in the training process one by one. Predict the test data, and multiply them by the learning rate, and then accumulate them all. This is the prediction process. The y-value of each test data point will then be predicted as follows. This is the code implementation of the algorithm on the left. Now, let's check the results. Let's check the loss history, which is the mean squared error stored during the training process. The result is like this. This shows that the mean squared error loss gradually decreases as training is repeated. This means that the training went well. We then visualize the target values for the training and test data. The result is like this. The blue dots represent the target y-values of the training data, and the red curve is the predicted y-value of the test data. We can see that the sinusoid is well predicted, as expected. This time, we will use scikit-learn's gradient boosting regressor library. Set the number of trees to 50 as before. And also set the learning rate alpha and tree depth the same as before. We fit this model to the training data, x and y. And we use this model to predict the test data. And we also visualize the prediction result. The visualized result is like this. You can see that the prediction results of the two methods match well. This library makes it easy to implement GBM regression. Let's run this code. The results came out like this. You can see that the loss value is decreasing well. And you can see that the results of using decision tree regressor directly. And the results of using gradient boosting regressor match well. Let's check the base learners inside the gradient boosting regressor model. You can see that this model also internally uses decision tree regressor as the base learner. This time, let's implement SGBM, Friedman's stochastic gradient boosting method. As with the previous code, let's use decision tree regressor as our base model. The data we will use is like this. The SGBM samples the data. The sampling rate, F rate, is set to 50%. This means that we sample 50% of the data from the training data in each round. Set the initial prediction, F0, to the average value of y. Initially, set Fm to the initial prediction, F0. Since we need to use sample data, we created the initial Fm as an array. Now perform 50 iterations. In each iteration, we sample the training data without replacement to generate subsamples. We sample 50% of the data from the entire training data. The replace is set to false. According to page 3 of the 1999 Friedman paper, the subsample size is smaller than the training data size. That's why we set this ratio to 0.5, where SI stands for the sample index. Step A and Step 2 of the algorithm calculates the residuals. We calculate the residuals for the sampled data. We then use decision tree regressor to create the base model. We fit this model to the sampled data X and the residuals. We then calculate the gamma by predicting the residuals for all data points X. This gamma is used to update the old prediction of target Y with the new prediction, and save this model in the models list. The mean squared error loss is also stored. This is the training process. If you check the loss history saved during the training process, it looks like this. We can see that the mean squared error decreases nicely as the iterations progress. In the prediction step, test data is generated in the same way as the previous code, and the Y-pred of the test data is predicted. Here's a visualization of the training data, test data, and the predictions. This is the result of SGBM regression. You can see that the predicted sinusoid has become slightly smoother than the GBM result. This is the effect of regularization through data subsampling. This time, we will use scikit-learn's gradient boosting regressor. The subsampling rate is set to 50%. Fit this model to the training data, and predict the Y value of the test data. The result looks like this. You can see that the two results are similar. Because the data is randomly sampled, the two results will not match exactly. Let's run this code as well. The results came out like this. You can see that the results of using decision tree regressor directly and the results of using gradient boosting regressor are similar. And you can also see that the prediction results of SGB are slightly smoother than those of GBM. Let's run it one more time. This time, it came out like this. So far, we have implemented regression algorithms of GBM and SGBM. In the next video, we will look at the training and prediction process of GBM classification. The GBM classification algorithm is slightly more complex than regression.